Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Morning Sports Desk, or welcome in for the very first time. It's the Morning Sports Desk powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. I'm CJ Baumgartner. There's Corey Tackman. Corey, we got a lot to talk about in the local sports scene over the weekend because, stuff happens. It's late season, playoff chases, section championships, conference clinchers, all that good stuff. And I think we probably need to start off with just kind of recapping what happened over the weekend. Then we got a game preview tonight that we're going to get into, but some section wrestling on Friday night, Corey, that determined who was going to the state tournament as a team. And we found some answers.
We, in fact, did find some answers. Kyle and Dan went off to Holding Ford for Section 7A team wrestling, and the Staples-Motley Cardinals pull away for the second year in a row. The victory in that section. They're going back to the state tournament as a team. CJ, I saw a recap of that. It sounded like all that needed to happen was the Staples-Motley heavyweight needed to not get pinned, and it was going to be theirs. And it ended up being, I think, a major decision, which is what led to the that was enough. That was enough. And 30-29, the Cardinals go back to represent Section 7A at the state team wrestling tournament. But that was just one team of four from around the region who get to represent their communities and schools at state wrestling.
Yeah, and to go back onto that, Staples-Motley, when I was talking with Kyle just a little bit here before we started recording, he also said there were some rules to the point systems and things that have gone in that would have kind of impacted how the match would have gone either way too, and kind of ended up going in Staples' favor, and not necessarily very happy campers on the Holding Ford front from how kind of the rule changes from a year ago to this year on the high school league. I'm not qualified enough in wrestling to break that all down, but it's Staples-Motley gets a tough test, and it's one of the toughest tests they've faced all season. They've played faced off against a lot of other good wrestling programs and came away very handily on the other side. So the fact that they've gotten through this and now are into the state tournament, they're going to be ranked very highly. Let's just put it that way. They rank 1 through 8 now, I believe, this year at the state wrestling tournament. So we will see where they go. But yeah, like you said, Corey, we have a few others. United North Central tops Frazee in the championship match, and they are going once again to the state tournament, winning Section 8A. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, they were the 2 seed in the section this year too. But another trip for Coach Oyster and the UNC Warriors. Obviously, as always, lots of great things happening at UNC wrestling country as well. That's one black and gold team in the state tournament. Another one from just west of there makes it too.
Yeah, Perham gets in as well in the 2A class, and they end up going on to the state tournament after winning their section championship as well, because we just have to have more teams join in on the party.
Yep, and then your Section 6A champ was West Central area, who as far as our immediate coverage zone goes, we'll cover the Knights on occasion, but they come out of Section 6A that Section 6 was wide open. It kind of seemed like teams 1 through 5 would compete for that one, and congratulations to the Knights who go back as well. So crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that wrestling, we've got individual stuff, CJ, now happening this weekend to find out who's going to go to the XL Energy Center, and that state wrestling tournament, not too far away, is it?
Not too far away. We know who's going to go in on the team portion. Like you said, Kyle and Dan will be in Wadena on Friday for the championships in Section 6A individual wrestling. And of course, you can listen to that on KWAD. Find the full broadcast schedule online at wadenaradio.com for more information on that. And we are starting to get in the thick of high school sports playoffs. Hockey playoffs begin this week as well for boys hockey. Girls hockey playoffs have been in full swing. Final week of regular season girls basketball. Boys basketball is a couple more weeks too. And that kind of gets us into our next point. Speaking of girls basketball, we know who the Park Region Conference champion is. We talked about it on Friday that there's a potential for a 3-team tie. And Menahga said, to heck with it. We're winning this thing outright. And they just slightly get the better of Wadena Deer Creek. I can't remember the final score off the top of my head, something like 42-39 or something along those lines, 42-37. They were able to come away with the victory, just to grind it out, slug them out. 2 teams that are well coached, experienced, punching each other back and forth. It was a defensive slugfest, and sometimes that can mean that offensively it's always bad. I think both teams had their moments offensively, but both teams, Corey, average less than 43 points a game defensively. I think Wadena Deer Creek allows 40 points a game defensively going into that game, and Menahga allowed 37 points per game on average going into that game. Like, those are just 2 suffocating defenses in their own right, and we talked about that on Friday night. Menahga came out on the better end. They've been a little unhealthy the last few weeks, but they finally started to patch up. They've gotten together, and they won the Park Region Conference this year. So no co-conference champions this year. Menahga once again wins it.
I would boo the outcome, but I don't want it to sound disrespectful to Menahga.
I was going to say, because I was talking with Coach Pouliou for our pregame interview, and he mentioned he saw you talking about you were rooting for the 3 teams. So you're on his radar. So you better be careful.
Hey, Coach, I'm interested in excitement and excitement only. Congratulations to the Menahga Braves. They're awesome. Coach Pouliou's awesome, and he has and they have something cooking for like a decade now. It's just Menahga girls basketball is just a problem forever and for always, it would seem.
And once again in that section, with the way Wadena Deer Creek and Menahga squared off, and the way that Menahga's played against some of the other section opponents over the last couple weeks, both him and Coach Cressup before that game said, in this section, 1 through 9, 1 through 10 can beat anybody on a given night. Like, they're capable of beating each other, which will make for a fun Section 8 AA tournament as that gets closer. But before
that goes back, by the way, 2 years to Wadena Deer Creek being an 11 seed in a section championship. It's a deep section.
Anybody can beat anybody, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Some sections, it's okay, these 2 teams are on a collision course for each other, and like, they got to play the games, they have to show up, they have to win. But really, everybody kind of knows that it's these 2 teams that are going to meet in the subsection or the section final. And then you have a section like that where it's like, I don't know, man, this is chaos. It's March Madness style, like, bracketology going on here, where things just happen and it's fun. And both ways can be fun. But, as we've talked about in this show, the chaos parts of our brains just sometimes take over. And it's really fun to see, to see a team make a Cinderella story, or see a huge upset happen, or things like that. So
I apologize to Menahga for rooting for chaos, but I also apologize to Wadena Deer Creek and New York Mills for not rooting for chaos. Am I covered now?
Maybe. I don't know. Looking into on the Sports Cow Facebook page, by the way, Corey, can I get a moo? Moo. Creed Mersu of New York Mills Eagles Wrestling got his 100th victory. And not only that, Coach Nemi got his 350th career victory as head coach.
Coach Nemi, that's awesome.
Yeah, just a big milestone there for New York Mills. Congratulations to them getting that, especially getting it right before section, right before the individual tournament. So that way that weight is kind of off Mersu's shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's done.
Pressure now, section tournaments anyway, right?
Exactly. Not like, you don't need to worry about playing the numbers game. It's just, I'm just going to go wrestle now and figure things out along the way. Not like, oh, but if I got to get the numbers, I got to get this workout, I got to get that. So all in all, congratulations to them.
Way to go, Creed. That's awesome. Good job, buddy.
Awesome accomplishment. Hey, tonight, before we get too carried away here, we do have some high school girls basketball on the Superstation K-106. That's 105.9 FM. Also streaming online at WadenaRadio.com or the Superstation K-106 mobile app. Corey, we have a non-conference, non-section matchup tonight between the Sebeka Trojans as they host the Parkers Prairie Panthers. For the Trojans on the season, they are 8-16, 4-7 in Section 5A, 5-9 in the Park Region Conference. They are 4-9 on their home floor. And their last win came on January 31st against Henning. They've lost 5 in a row, but have played some tough competition. When you look at Nevis, Bertha Hewitt, Menahga, have kind of been thrown into that mix there. And they have a couple more games left to their season to try and end things on a high note going into the section tournament. And they play Parkers Prairie tonight. They wrap up their season on Thursday against Browerville Eagle Valley in Clarissa. So this is kind of a non-conference, non-section, something that's, not going to be a be-all, end-all in terms of QRF, but in terms of momentum and just trying to get things right going into the postseason, it'll be big for them. Currently, Sebeka has a QRF of 48.2. And when you flip things over to the Parkers Prairie Panthers, they are 13-10 on the season, 11-9 in Section 6A, 10-8 in the Little 8 Conference, 6-5 on the road. They have a QRF of 59.7, and they are 2-4 in their last 6 games dating back to January 28th, but they have won their last 2, getting victories over Rothsay and Clinton Graceville Beardsley. They play Browerville Eagle Valley tomorrow night in Parkers Prairie, and then they also host Henning on Thursday night. So both teams kind of wrapping up their seasons here. The end is near, and both teams just trying to stack some wins up to kind of set themselves up in the best possible seeding for a playoff run, but also just to get the vibes right going to end the year as well.
Coverage tonight starts at 7:15, tip-off at 7:30. CJ Baumgartner with all the play-by-play. Superstation K-106, Superstation K-106 app, and WadenaRadio.com.
And by the way, WadenaRadio.com is where you can find our full broadcast schedule. Things are getting close here to the point where the broadcast schedule gets very, very fluid as things kind of go on here once we get into playoff season. So here we go. And we have a little bit to talk about here, Corey, with the Four Nations face-off, which has just been awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a second, but we probably should shout out the good folks at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Corey, what's going on there?
Well, we've been talking about the FunZone rewards, which is the latest post on their Facebook page, but I actually want to go back on their Facebook page to one previous post because the FunZone rewards is in effect through the end of April, and the details are all on the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade Facebook page. Basically, play, buy, reload your card. You do that 3 times by the end of April. You got 1,000 free tickets coming your way, but especially with it being this cold, it's hard to get motivated, right? To get out and doing stuff. Well, it's less hard to get motivated when you know that the Pizza Ranch has warm food waiting for you and all the fun to be had in the arcade. It's Monday. It's half price play day on Mondays at the FunZone Arcade. All day salad bar and buffet in Pizza Ranch is waiting for you. Legendary food and fun. The Wadena Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in beautiful, historic downtown Wadena. Go and check it out. Say thanks for the food. Thanks for the fun. Thanks for the morning sports desk. We love those guys.
We do love the Pizza Ranch. Thank you, Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. All right, Corey, Four Nations face-off. It's been the reaction to both the NBA and the NHL did some pretty big shakeups to their All-Star weekends. The NHL moved to the Four Nations Classic, and the NBA kind of switched to some celebrity, like kind of a little tournament, like with Charles Barkley and I believe Shaq, and then there's a couple other guys and gals who kind of have some teams that they picked, and they kind of go in a tournament style and whatever. It could not be different. The amount of praise that the NHL got and the amount of kind of meh that the NBA got over the weekend with their respective things. But let's just start by talking about the Four Nations face-off. Turns out hockey players are very patriotic for their own countries.
It's been a pleasure to watch this stuff. And I'm not able to watch a ton of wild hockey for all the reasons that I've talked about before with the Twins and the Timberwolves and whatever. This has been just an absolute riot. I love being patriotic when it comes to my sports. I just love it. I love the Olympics. I love World FIFA, whatever, World Cups, all that stuff. I'm just a huge, huge fan of this. And the players get way into it. The fans get way into it. To beat Canada in Canada have 3 fights in the first 9 seconds.
Ooh, the American national anthem. Like, there's just all of this made a great sports environment.
Oh, it's just unbelievable stuff happening. And then it's a doubleheader today, where, of course, we're all Finlanders. Finland and Canada play their first game. Actually, as we're doing this, the face-off is in like less than 90 minutes for that game 1. But then Team USA and Team Sweden, who dresses like Gustavus, is tonight at 7. And I mean, I have nothing important to say other than like, it's just been an absolute joy to watch this.
It's been fun. The games are fun. There's energy. There's all this stuff. Like, Corey, I didn't do this because I didn't have time, but Sunday morning I woke up and I was like, I think I should watch Miracle today. I think I should watch the Kurt Russell movie where he's Herb Brooks. I think I should do that. Like, everybody's posting the clips. Everybody's posting the highlights of all the Team USA guys checking the Canadians into the boards with Toby Keith blasting in the background. Like, everything is just set up. You're right. This is the best kind of patriotism, where it's sports patriotism, where it's like, at the end of the day, it's just a hockey game, but you get to kind of give a little smack talk to your neighbors from the North. And it's really fun to get to have those moments and stuff like that. And it's funny when you contrast it with the NBA, where it's, and again, this the NBA All-Star game has had its issues. They've had their ups and downs. The NHL All-Star game has had their ups and downs, where the star player in the NBA, your face of the league, LeBron James, shows up on the final day of all the festivities to announce he's not playing, and then kind of also tanks the watching value. Anthony Edwards had a groin injury. He didn't play. There's a couple things where it's just the NBA and the leagues are structured differently. There's different things going on. It's not a one-to-one comparison from the NHL, but it's where the NHL had people putting their bodies on the line for their countries. You flop it over to the NBA, where everybody's just kind of like waiting for the weekend to be over. You have Wembanyama and Chris Paul, who a year ago, Wembanyama was bad talking Anthony Edwards for shooting left-handed in the 3-point contest, and then decides to do whatever the heck he did in the skills competition, just throwing the shots onto the floor for a better time to get himself disqualified. Like, it's just a thing of, this is the NBA does a lot of things right, but this is one of the things where they just can't quite find the right answer.
Yeah, it's a league of a bunch of guys who don't want to play. If you want to take the most pessimistic view on this, right? It's a bunch of guys who are at the player empowerment. They're looking for days off. They don't want to play. And that is this included. I would almost guarantee that the NBA does something like what hockey did next year.
We're definitely doing the USA versus the world next year. That's happening.
USA versus the world, or like there's a good enough, you could set up like North America versus Europe versus Africa.
Right.
Like round robin. You could set up, like, you could do USA. There's enough players to put a Canadian team together. There's enough there's like European, like you could do a mini Olympics like the NHL is doing for your All-Star weekend. And I think they would take it seriously. Jokic has an all-time great quote about, like, how did you feel about playing in that atmosphere? And he goes, "I'm from Serbia, brother." And then they show the clips of what it's like to play in the Serbian National League and the crowds that exist there. I think that's the move. And also, this is really important. When we watch Canada versus USA get into 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of their game, what that means is the most important players for the United States and for Canada felt like it was worth it enough to get in an actual fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying the NBA needs to get in fights. I think that's silly, but
there needs to be some kind of like motivating.
Then LeBron James might be hurt, whatever. Anthony Edwards has definitely been hurt. He's been questionable for 2 weeks, right? So I get all of that. But like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander needs to decide, I am going to kill somebody today.
Right.
I'm dropping 40 in my 18 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, however.
We need Wemby and Rudy Gobert to team up and be like, you know what? Time to say that France basketball is like taking over as like whatever.
We need Kobe Bryant to run through Pau Gasol on a screen like he did in the Olympics to set the tone. Somebody needs to decide, and it can't be Dylan Brooks. It can't be
Steve Morris. It can't be
one of those guys. It needs to be Giannis, who's like, I'm killing you guys tonight.
You know how fun it was to watch as an American and as somebody who doesn't like, as much like the Connor McDavids of the world or the whatevers of the world, like to watch Team USA just check them into the boards and smash them. Like, yeah, screw that guy.
I am mostly like, Canada's cool. Canada's a cool place. I have nothing against Canada. I hate Connor McDavid. It's fun.
Right.
It's fun to sports hate people.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. It doesn't actually impact the world at all. I don't actually hate Connor McDavid. I sports hate Connor McDavid, and I want bad things to happen to him professionally.
Right. Exactly.
I get to root for that now.
Uh-huh.
I get to root against Jamal Murray and Devin Booker and Luka Doncic for what they did to the Timberwolves or what they tried to, you know what I mean? That's fun, man.
It's fun to be in it. The point of sports is for your team to do well. The other point is to enjoy in the failures of others. Like,
now imagine Connor McDavid is your guy.
Right.
Now you're galvanized for him. Now he's your guy even more than he was your guy because you think the whole world is out to get him.
You know what was the fun part about watching the Olympic team? I got to just enjoy Steph Curry without feeling weird about rooting for the Warriors. Like, right. You had to be like, man, Steph Curry's like, you kind of like, as a general fan, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Steph Curry and LeBron and Kevin Durant are awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I think the NBA, I think the NBA absolutely moves to something like this, but it is going to require, I mean, technically they kind of did it, right? Like they had 4 teams, like right. One guy picked young guys, the other guy picked old guys, another guy picked all Europeans and whatever. Like they kind of tried something special, but they don't take it seriously.
Right.
Somebody is going to have to decide, I am going to poke Jalen Brunson in the chest, literally, not figuratively, literally, and say, you can't do anything about this.
Right. That's got to happen. And is Anthony Edwards the guy to do it? I mean, on paper, maybe, but he also is a guy that would be like, it's the All-Star weekend, man. I'm going to...
Left-handed.
That's a guy that's like, I don't know, man. I'm going to have fun with this. Yeah, he's not the guy to do it. Who is that guy?
He would be the guy.
Victor Wembanyama would have had a perfect weekend for him to show up and be like, hey, I'm making my mark. I'm taking over. It's my time. And then he pulls that in the skills competition.
Yeah, right. He took it not, he is the most unserious you could take it.
Right.
And then they were flabbergasted that they got DQ'd.
Oh, shocker that Chris Paul decides to use a weird loophole.
Exactly.
Oh, that guy. This is what I mean. You need stuff like this. So anyway, there's a long-winded way of saying the Four Nations face-off was awesome. And it was really cool. And the NBA, once again, trying to figure it out. The NFL just has thrown in the towel. They've just done flag football.
Here, I'll summarize it for you. The Four Nations face-off, the hockey has been incredible. The highlight of the NBA All-Star weekend was Muggsy Bogues meeting Victor Wembanyama.
Pretty much, yeah. Somebody said, I wanted to watch the All-Star game, turned it on, and Mr. Beast was on my screen. He said, I'm finding impeachment papers for Adam Silver immediately. Like, if somebody broke down the time of the games versus commercials / analysis / whatever, and it was like the amount of actual basketball on the screen was criminally minimal. They experimented. You give them props for trying something new, but right. It was a failure. And if they try it again next year, it's not going to go over well.
Right.
They know that, and they're going to change it. All right, let's wrap things up today with an Immaculate Grid Monday. So, okay. Corey, as we get ready, just tell the good folks at home what an Immaculate Grid is.
Immaculate Grid looks like a tic-tac-toe board. There's 3 categories across the top, 3 down the side. You have to find common ground where the categories meet up on the board. Of course, you try, if you can, try to go for the best possible score. It's called the sicko score. Is that correct?
Yeah, rarity score is the official term, but you're a sicko if you know who played in 1912 for the Boston Braves, and and if Zeke, you're listening to this, I think you count as the sicko. So
yes, he's a total sicko. So we have Cincinnati, Cleveland, and a 100+ RBI season batting across the top. Down the side, we have the White Sox, the Phillies, and the Red Sox. So we just need to find the weirder the answer, the better the score. The way CJ and I play this is, if we can get a weird one, we do. Otherwise, we'll take this.
They give us.
This is the infield shifting, and we're bunting for a base hit. We'll take the bunt for a base hit here every single time.
It's been a while since we've got an immaculate on this thing, so we need to try and kind of go for that.
Yeah.
So starting off on the top, going from left to right, the Cincinnati Reds, then the Cleveland Guardians, and then a 100+ RBI season. And then going from top to bottom, the Chicago White Sox, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Boston Red Sox. So, for example, on this first square, a Cincinnati Red, who is also a Chicago White Sox. Corey, I'm just going here. It's Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, no, I love it. Great answer.
We're on the board.
Done. What that says 28%?
28%.
So we're already out of sicko score range.
Right. And that's okay. Because you just can't think of a ton of White Sox / Reds that really have popped into public consciousness. I have a Philly / Guardian. That's Carlos Santana.
Okay.
We're just getting that one. We're just getting that one off the board. 6%.
Love it.
There we go. Love the fact he's got the Twins hat on. So
shout out Carlos Santana. Should we just get Jim Thome we could have done Jim Thome for Philly, Cleveland. I was looking at the other scene. He wasn't a Red.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, a Philly or do we do him as a White Sox with a 100+ RBI season for Jim Thome?
Do you think he did?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he didn't play there for as long as we think, but a majority of his career was with the Phillies, correct? Or was it with Cleveland and then Philadelphia? No, Jim Thome played for the Phillies. That was the team he had two different stints with, correct? Like he played there in his early career and then he got traded back like later.
That I don't know. I think of him, when I think of him first, I think of him as a Cleveland Indian.
Yeah, I mean, I think of him just being my generation. I think of him as a White Sox, or like the 2 months he was a Dodger.
So this has to be
have a 100+ RBI season for the team
for the White Sox.
So if you're Jim Thome and let's say had a 100 RBI season with Cleveland, but not with Philadelphia, you need to have it with the team that's corresponding with.
Well, you could use Jim Thome for Cleveland and the Sox then.
Oh, yeah. Duh. Let's use Jim Thome there.
There we go. Jim Thome fills up a lot of squares on this one.
Surprisingly. 30% got that one.
Okay, good.
All right. A Cincinnati Red who's a Philadelphia Philly. That one's going to be tough. Two National League teams, and the Reds just don't do much. So it's really hard to keep things. Sonny Gray doesn't really fall into this.
Right.
Kyle Farmer doesn't really fit into this. I don't believe Ty France played for either the Phillies or the Red Sox. We'll maybe we'll have to. How about a Cleveland Indian / Guardian who's played for the Red Sox? Manny Ramirez.
Yep.
Manny.
Yeah, let's do Manny. Move on with our lives.
Okay, there we go. We've almost gotten a T at the top of the screen. If we get a White Sox with a 100+ RBI season, I mean, with the White Sox, you could do like Jose Abreu to get that one off the board. He had to have gotten it. Otherwise, you could go Paul Konerko.
Yeah, the first name I had in my head was Paul Konerko, maybe even like Frank Thomas or something.
Frank Thomas, yeah, that's a good one. For whatever reason, Konerko feels a little bit easier because he batted cleanup on those White Sox teams.
On good teams.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know either. We're going to run into an Evan Longoria situation pretty quickly.
The most obvious answer is actually Frank Thomas. I just don't, I don't know how it can't be him. Just like it couldn't have been Evan Longoria.
Frank Thomas that played from 1990 to 2008, correct? Not the one that played from 1951 to 1966.
I think that's probably correct. Yeah. Come on, be right.
40% guessed Frank Thomas. But we have a team.
Take them where we can get them, because I think the Cincinnati column is going to be difficult for us.
Very difficult. A Red Sox with an 100-plus RBI season, David Ortiz.
I mean, again, you've got 1,000 options.
Right.
We can't use Manny. We already used him, but yeah.
David Ortiz, Mookie Betts,
Ted Williams.
Well, we've gotten burned on Ted Williams before.
Boy, did we ever. You didn't memorize his categories when we looked him up and discussed that time?
I mean, might as well do it again.
Yeah, just put Ortiz. I would assume he did it.
25% guess David Ortiz.
Nice.
Shockingly low.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like it'd be closer to that 40% like Frank Thomas.
That's because there's a lot of options.
Right. The White Sox, turns out the White Sox are a poverty franchise. But, so we have a Philadelphia Philly with a 100-plus RBI season. I mean, Ryan Howard's got to be the answer, right?
That's the first answer for me, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like maybe Bryce Harper has gotten there at some point with the Phillies now.
We could have done Ted Williams so many times.
Ted Williams play for the Reds?
The fewest number of RBIs Ted Williams had in his first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons was 97 in 1950.
Oh.
He had 159 in 49.
Jeez. To be fair, the pitchers at that time threw probably a whopping 70 miles an hour.
Maybe
being dramatic.
Also, he didn't play from 43 to 45. So he took a 3-year gap to go fight a world war.
And then showed up and took his aggression out on.
Showed up in 46 and had 123 RBIs that season.
His daddy's home from war and he's not happy. And then he took it out on American League pitchers.
1939 and 1951 was a 97 RBI season.
Only.
This is also the year he hit his second fewest home runs. He only hit 28 that year.
He's really got to pick it up.
That's awesome. All right. I would do Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard.
Again, there's some like 70s.
26% of people with Ryan Howard. Did Pete Rose get an 100 RBI season with the Phillies?
Let's find out. He was, I mean, that would be harder for him. I would imagine. Does
Pete Rose cross off the red Philly?
Oh, I shouldn't look him up now, should I? I get a close. I think Pete Rose.
He did play for the Phillies, I feel like, late in his career. Or at some point in his career, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the answer.
He was player managing for the Reds when he retired.
I think
he got banned.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the right answer.
To do this for this square?
Pete Rose.
Okay. All right. Whoop, I accidentally hit Ken Griffey Jr.'s baseball reference page. All right. Pete Rose. 34% of people had Pete Rose.
All right, let's see if he had any 100 RBI seasons.
With the Phillies specifically.
Well, he had 82 with Cincinnati and 69. That seems to be the biggest number.
Yeah, well, especially with him, he probably was hitting 1 all the time.
Yep. Yeah, he never had a 100 RBI season.
Yeah, that's a guy that definitely hit 1/2 into the lineup all the time and never had guys on base for him.
63 to 86. Just a crazy career.
It would have been even longer if he decided to Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. I mean, not that much longer. He was 1,000 years old.
Right. He was player managing, but that was kind of in.
He was 45 in 86.
You can keep it going. Caleb Fieldbar's still pitching. Or who is it? Rich Hill. He's still out there.
Jamie Moyer. Jamie Moyer is always a safe bet for a lot of these too.
Rich Hill. Did he ever pitch for Cincinnati? Because he pitched for Boston.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is tough because now you just gotta find like that one retread starting pitcher who's pitched everywhere. Sonny Gray never pitched for Boston. Oh man.
Yeah, my depth of knowledge when it comes to, in particular, Cincinnati is.
Aroldis Chapman never pitched for Boston, but he's pitched for about every other team. The Reds, I mean, the Reds have just been, let's be honest, the Reds have really kind of been a nothing franchise for most of my lifetime.
For all of your lifetime, that's true.
The Red Machine is a long ways away.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think of the last time they were good, like with the Dusty Baker teams about a decade ago.
Play for Boston?
Who?
Sean Casey.
Oh, Sean Casey. Ooh, yeah, maybe Sean Casey. Do we try it?
Did Edgar Renteria play for Cincinnati?
Jared Saltalamacchia.
Mike Lowell. Did Mike Lowell play for Cincinnati?
I think he played for Florida.
Well, I mean, he did play for Florida.
Kevin Youkilis.
Adam Dunn. Did Adam Dunn play for Boston?
Oh, good question. Probably not. Because they had Ortiz.
J.D. Drew play for Cincinnati?
Oh, J.D. Drew. He was my favorite fantasy draft pick when we'd restart franchises on 2K8 for the Wii. Because we just bat him one and you'd bunt him every single time, get him on base. And then you'd have Adrian Beltre come up in the 2 spot and slug a home run.
Right.
J.D. Drew is a good pull.
Like an Otis Nixon or something stupid like that.
Oh, yeah.
Did Juan Pierre play for these teams?
Did Juan Uribe?
He played for everybody. I don't know. Did Juan Uribe?
It's got to be one of those well-traveled. Rick Porcello never pitched
for St. Louis. That's, I think, some of this red is where I get.
Right. It kind of bleeds over. I think Sean Casey's probably the play.
Did he play for Boston?
That's a good question. I feel like, again, the red is what's confusing me because I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen him in a red. And I'm like, wait, that was with the red. Obviously he played for the Reds, but I'm trying to think of where else he played for. I mean, I feel like he had to have.
Detroit. He was in Detroit.
Oh yeah, Detroit.
Played for Detroit for a while.
I don't know. I think something in my gut tells me we got it. Let's go for broke.
Gosh.
Here we go, Corey. The moment of truth. Do we have an immaculate grid? 3, 2, 1. We got it. We got it. We got the grid.
I feel so good about that.
Oh,
I feel so good about Sean Casey. I always love that guy.
Sean Casey, if you're listening, please come on the show. We would love to just talk with you about your great achievement
in your Boston career
for being brave enough to play in Cincinnati.
He would have been a great twin.
He played only 1 year with the Red Sox in 2008.
Boy, oh boy, what a. I'm glad we both felt that, somewhere in our large intestine. You know what I mean?
Right
it's there somewhere. We both feel it. Okay. What a pull. That's a great pull. What was how many people picked him? That had to have been a good score.
3%. That was our best pull of the day.
Nice.
You beat my Carlos Santana pull.
Yes. Yes.
There we go. Look at us. Our rarity score was 200.
Terrible.
So it's not great. Zeke's probably rattled off 4 different names.
We needed those easy ones to get us to. Otherwise, this particular episode could have gone 67 minutes.
Right. Yeah. You need to do some just to kind of knock. If we're doing this on our own just to kill time at work, yeah, we could easily spend a lot of time on it. But for the sake of you guys, we maybe just need to tighten it up a little bit. All right, Corey, I think that's a good way to end on. This has been the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade for a Monday, the 17th of February. See you tomorrow.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.